Welcome back to the dojo. My name is Jason Powers. I'm your host, the self-funded sensei here. And I got my friend Scott Borden with WLT Software. Scott, I've known you for a very, very long time. Welcome to the dojo.
Decades at this point in time. Glad to be here, Jason.
Yeah, it's been a long run. I know you as the HSA guy. I think a lot of people that know you as the HSA guy. How'd you end up in the insurance business and where you are today?
Well, let's see. Got my insurance license in '89. Actually, the same month and year I married my wife. So September of 1989. Been in the industry almost 37 years at this point in time. Found medical savings accounts in 1998 and really transitioned to OFM. That's where we first met in 2000. Yeah. So it's been over 2 decades that we've known each other.
Yeah.
Started doing talk radio at that point in time, trying to educate people because triple tax advantages and all the complicated part of medical savings accounts, now they're HSAs. People didn't really understand it back then, but if you explain it to them properly, virtually everyone wanted one. It's an unbeatable, at that point in time. I understand no one likes the high deductible health plan hurdle that you have to get past. It's better if you can have a direct contract with zero out of pocket. I get that. But the HSA concept by itself was so new at that point in time, we needed to educate people, so I started doing talk radio. And shortly thereafter, I think in 2007, my wife got me the license plate HSA guy, and I've been HSA guy ever since.
Yeah, I say I don't. You're not giving that up, right? It's on the car you drove here today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though I should have brought one of my old ones in that are retired, but it's just kind of my brand, personal brand at this point in time. I don't really do hardly anything with HSAs anymore, but still the concept itself is sound. Being able to pay for all your medical expenses with tax-free money. If you don't spend it, you get to keep it instead of the use it or lose it provision in a typical flexible spending account. I just wish we can get rid of the high deductible health plan requirement. That would be on my wish list.
Isn't that on all of our wish lists? I mean, I've been involved with NABIT for a long, long time as well, and we've been pushing for Congress to do something to change the requirement for an HSA to be paired with a qualified high deductible plan.
Right.
We're not any closer to getting that done than we were 20 years. How long has it been now? Since 2004.
2022. Right.
22 years. My
ago,
gosh.
Yeah.
Almost my entire career in this industry has been around HDHPs and HSAs.
Well, at least we got direct primary care.
Yeah.
So now you can do HSAs with DPC.
Yeah.
And that's a fantastic fit.
And we got them to codify telehealth and HSAs.
Right.
And, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good movement, a lot of political leaders, congressional leaders that are listening to the things that we're saying up there in DC, which is why I go to Capitol Convention every year. It's why I want to be in that conversation, because it's something that I've watched my entire career be difficult to explain to someone why. Well, I do have a higher deductible. Yeah, but you got a copay.
Right.
So one of these days we'll get there. And you and I have worked together in the past when you were on the broker side of the industry, and today you're on the software side of the industry.
Yep.
So, and I know you've got a lot of visibility in the TPA space. So, and I like to talk about self-funding. So, what do you see? What are some trends that you're seeing that brokers out there in the market don't see that's happening in that TPA space and the relationship you have with those administrators?
Well, the TPA space is changing dramatically. I mean, technology has been a big piece of it. You have to embrace technology nowadays. And as Shelley, the CEO of WLT, says, if you don't embrace AI in this industry in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be irrelevant. You really have to embrace it. So the TPA space is evolving. However, the frustrating part that I see is a lot of TPAs are still staying in the BUCA wannabe. I call them self-fund. Well, I don't say this. In fact, I was at a conference I was just at in Wisconsin this week, and there's self-fund in name only. I like that term, by the way. So it's self-funding, but you're still using a typical Blue Cross, Cigna, and whatever PPO network. They're still saying you can't audit these claims. Trust us. These claims are going to be accurate. We take care of you, and all that kind of stuff. And I think if you really look at the fiduciary responsibility and the laws and the potential liability that these plan sponsors have moving forward, not just the new ones for PBM, but all the way across the board. They're going to have to change the business model of what's been happening in the past. So a lot of these TPAs that are hanging on to the old school systems are going to be left behind. You really have to be doing some innovative things. You can't just be using for example, the vertically integrated PBMs. There's so many different ways you can hide money. How is a plan sponsor who's on the hook for the fiduciary responsibility, how do they stand a chance of actually abiding by this new legislation when you have a PBM that owns the insurance company, that owns the pharmacy, and there's really no way to have any visibility into the spread pricing, into the rebating, so on and so forth. So I think the light of day is going to be shined into that if we can actually get the teeth in it. I know the legislation isn't officially until 2029, but I think plan sponsors and TPAs that understand what this really means, there are technology, there are PBMs out there, there's resources out there today that can really drive down healthcare, especially prescription drug spend, 30 to 50% simply by integrating some of the things that's required by law eventually. Why not implement them now and start that savings right now for your plan, for these plan sponsors, for these participants?
Well, just today, the Newswire, Secretary Kennedy announced new enforcement of hospital transparency. They're doubling down on hospital price transparency. What that will lead to, we're all eagerly waiting for action, and I think it's getting better. It's still not there, but I just think that it's timely that we're having this conversation, especially with what's going on in the Newswire today.
And that is another big piece of it. I think once the spread pricing on the PBMs comes out, then you're going to see the craziness, from $5,000 down to $500 at 10x or sometimes 20x spread pricing in prescription drug costs. We see almost the same thing on the medical.
We do.
You get the same surgical procedure. If it's done over here, it's going to cost you 5x or 10x compared to across the street at an outpatient surgical center for the exact same procedure, even sometimes with the same surgeon.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous the way that that's been able to go. Once you have the light of transparency where people can actually see what the real price is, not this terabytes of data through the MRS machine readable files that they dump on the market each and every month. Here, try to figure out what the real price is. They're in there, but you have to siphon through all of this other junk prices before you're going to get what a real price is. So I think that's a fantastic move. If we can make them actually show the real price, then we have a chance of actually getting into a free market.
I would also say that I'm hesitant, or I'm cautiously optimistic, because we both know that the starting price, right, is different than the actual paid claim cost, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of data we're actually going to have available to the public. Are we going off ChargeMaster, or are we seeing the actual cost of goods plus what they would settle for, or what their average claim paid is for those services and those procedures? But it's not just the hospitals, right? I mean, they're one component, and they're playing by the set of rules that we've set out for them in the industry. It's the networks, it's the carriers, it's the PBMs, it's all of those pieces that are part of the vendor stack that is managed by the TPA.
Right.
You've recently been asking me, if we would ever entertain starting a TPA. Why? Why would I want to get in this space with all of those vendors that are having such a significant impact on what we're delivering to the consumers out there? Why should I entertain getting in the TPA space?
Well, let's start with this. In my opinion, independent TPAs not only have the opportunity, but the responsibility to drive innovation and savings throughout healthcare. And you're an innovator. You're a disruptor. You're not accepting the status quo. If you were to set up your own TPA, it would be the furthest thing ever from a self-funded, name-only type plan design like you see out there. So I understand that. You might be perfectly happy with who you're using for TPAs. And if that's the case, fine. But we've been approached over the past few years by a lot of benefit advisors, consultants that have said, you know what, we can't get a plan design. We can't get this TPA to embrace the capitated costs that you have to do with direct primary care. We'd like to implement this strategy, but they've built this box and they're having us try to apply this box to every one of our plan sponsors. And if we want to stray outside of that, it's potentially years, if ever, that you're going to be able to actually have that plan design built in. So if you had a customized software company that really built a plan, built a TPA around what you wanted to do, that is something that we would love to entertain that conversation with you. If, like I said, if you're happy with where you are, that's fine. But if not,
all my TPA partners are out there going, what are
we're
you talking
perfectly
about
happy,
now?
right? Right.
Yeah.
So the opportunity, the incubators for innovation is the independent TPA market. And that's shrinking, unfortunately. In today's marketplace, we have acquisitions, you have consolidations.
Yeah.
So the TPAs are shrinking. So we need to incubate the smaller TPA, the upstart TPA, the way we used to. And that's actually the history of WLT. We used to help brokers transition and start their own TPA many, many times. In fact, that was a majority of our business when we first started 47 years ago. So it's kind of fun. It's like, okay, that used to be the way we were, and then we started just working with existing TPAs. So how can we get back to that and kind of help the brokers that are thinking outside the box that maybe are a little frustrated with the marketplace? Plus, there's a little bit of revenue savings that can happen by doing it yourself too. So you could be transferring additional savings back to your plan sponsors, creating additional value.
And I do. I agree wholeheartedly that a lot of that independent TPA space is being replaced with BUCA managed TPA, BUCA owned TPAs. And we're kind of going on this full cycle back to, okay, you know, we avoided the self-funded space for a long time. We were mainly a fully insured market, but diving back in to recapture some of that market share. What would you say for the independent TPAs that are out there that you've worked with, or maybe the ones that you haven't worked with that you've seen? What are the common mistakes that they're making when they're starting up?
Well, starting up is a little bit easier than converting. If they've already got a TPA, they're converting from one system to another. So you have the whole conversion process. You have the data that you have to be able to access. And you still need it even with a startup because you have to have the existing plan design data, so on and so forth. But unfortunately, this industry, the adjudication software industry, is known for unbelievably complicated implementation processes that some of our competitors are literally taking years. So if you're a TPA and you've gone through this process in the past, and it's like, why would I want to do that again? You might have better tech, but I cannot go through this process that it's going to take years. I got to be paying for two different systems, parallel systems for years, and finally might be able to get this thing up and going. So the best technology out there might not be very handy if it's going to take you years and incredibly large amounts of money before you can get that up and going. So unfortunately, because of that, some of our competitors, some of our prospects are concerned about switching again. And somebody said, I don't know how to validate this, but most TPAs stay on their current system approximately 10 to 15 years before they'd even consider it. I think it's because of the painful process of switching and implementing a new system is creating a roadblock that doesn't necessarily have to be there.
A startup wouldn't necessarily have that conversion issue.
Correct.
Right. So then if a broker, thinking from a broker's perspective that's out there watching, you know, and a new TPA hits the market, what are the things that they need to be concerned about in that startup TPA?
Well, you've got to have all the business partners in place. You've got to have all of the pieces. And that's one thing that was kind of eye-opening to me. It's like I came from the broker side. I knew they adjudicated claims, but I thought that's like, well, you get in a car, you put the key in, you put it in drive, and you let off the brake and you give it gas and it just goes, right? So it's adjudicated. I had no idea about the spark plugs, the oil pump, the cylinders, and all the stuff that goes to actually make that happen. It's way more complicated than I knew. So that to me was eye-opening, seeing how that works. But you can still build it and have it a seamless situation for the plan sponsor and for the participant. And in fact, that's what I love. As a independent TPA, we can build the infrastructure, the serpentine belt that can allow these point solutions that are really driving savings and make it work as a seamless interface for the plan sponsor and for the end user. So the participant doesn't have to feel like they have 3, 4, 5 different things they have to log into in order to find out what's going on, to see the price transparency, to see what the cost is going to be. How do I actually use this plan because it's fractured? We can make it look as a single interface and really work together.
So for the brokers out there that are working with an independent TPA that may be more willing to customize plan design, customize their vendor stack, customize the delivery of the benefits to the end user. So for those disruptive producers out there, the disruptive brokers that are in the market, what are you seeing? What trends are you seeing that are harder to implement for TPAs in the adjudication side than what they really think it is? Give me an example where they missed the fact that you got to change the oil pump.
Well, like I said, the data transfer, getting all the data transferred from an existing system, or even if they're on fully insured plan, you still have to have some of that data as far as the deductible accumulators, so on and so
But
forth.
I mean, like I'm thinking like innovation of product, right? Innovation of plan design. We were seeing a lot of three-tiered plan designs, right?
Sure.
The setting up a three-tiered plan design with
Direct
where we got
contract.
a direct contract on tier 1 or tier 0, and then that middle tier is the traditional in-network benefit, and then your tier 3 would be your out-of-network benefit. What like something like that seems like it can be difficult for some administrators to or TPAs to administer. Anything else like that would be a challenge that you think brokers say, you're a custom independent TPA that customizes. You should be able to do this. What's harder than they think?
Well, that is a fantastic point, because if you do have the direct contract that you've put in place, maybe, and then maybe you want to tie into some more direct contracts that someone else has already tied into place, and maybe you do want to do the national PPO network or maybe an RBP wrap. So all of that can happen very seamlessly up front if you have the right business partners in place and if you have the right system in place. And that's something that I've had fun building out here at WLT, is finding the business partners that are creating those types of services even before it gets to our system. Because all of this is possible if you have the right people with the right aligned incentives in place as far as the business partner. So getting those as far as a whole ecosystem of business partners with aligned incentive is so difficult for someone to do on their own. Yet if you've vetted them and been working with these business partners for over 40 years like we have, that gives a broker a significant advantage compared to them trying to figure this out on their own.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in that direct contract tier 3 or three-tiered benefit structure example, I think a lot of brokers out there and even members, I think, kind of lose sight in something you said initially, that like adjudication is a lot harder than just getting in the car and push. But in today's world, we just push a button.
Sorry, there's no key. Sorry about that.
But something a term that I had never really even considered, and I had been on the TPA side. I started on the TPA side, and a term that I had never really considered was claims routing.
Right.
Claims routing. So, for most just general population, they think they hand their card that doesn't, their insurance card to the provider, which, by the way, doesn't have a barcode,
No.
doesn't have a chip, doesn't have a magnetic strip. It has words and letters and numbers. That's all that card has. And it has logos, right? Sometimes the logos can be shortcuts. Sometimes they can be the wrong shortcuts. Right. But it doesn't have any meaningful value other than information that's printed on the card. Which you could put on a napkin, right? Or you could just verbally tell them the information and get the same results. Anyway, they give that card, and their perception or concept of what happens next is the provider kicks out a receipt, a charge receipt, sends it off to the insurance company, and all they got to do is swipe their card and sign, and it pays the claim. But the reality in claims routing is that card tells that provider where they're supposed to send the claim.
Right.
What happens to it then? Then did they send it to the right place? It's like It's like going to lunch down here at Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A get to the front to pay the bill, and Chick-fil-A sends it over across the street to McDonald's.
Whoops.
Like to the guy in the drive-through over there. This isn't, I didn't order a Chick-fil-A, I'm at my McDonald's. Like, this is not the same. The payer at the end of the day has to get the claim. So what kind of challenges are you seeing at WLT in that claims routing conversation?
Well, there's complications, I mean, what you're talking about in TPA, as far as the clearinghouse and so on and so forth, there's an 837 form. So that's the form that comes in with the original list price, if you will, the charge master price. That never pay that, by the way.
Yeah.
Make sure that you let it go through the system before.
I got a book in there, never help me with the title. It's never pay
the first bill.
First bill, yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So never pay that, but let it go through the system, and then they'll come back, and then so 835 comes out after it's been adjudicated. So after all the PPO network, RBP, so on and so forth. So, but it's going to come in all kinds of different forms. I don't understand why healthcare still uses faxes. Okay, we're still that archaic a lot of times. We still fax medical bills in a lot of times. We receive those. We have to turn those into an electronic claim. That's 837. That then is a claims routing. And then there's all kinds of audits and edits that you can do. So you can take a look at that claim that comes in. And is this, so you have ICD-10 is your diagnosis code. So you have a diagnosis sitting on top, and then you have your CPT codes underneath there. I'm getting too technical.
That's okay.
But it's like, does that apply to a female, a prostate exam to a female, for example? So basic audits and edits that you need to be looking for to make sure that, hey, this is a legit
data didn't
claim.
get crossed. And yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, if you're not applying AI at this point in time in today's game, the providers have figured out how to upcharge, how to put additional upcode, if you will, put additional codes on there because you're not looking for it. One example, we talked about it at one of the AI seminars I went to last year. They found a provider that was putting a little $13 urinalysis on every visit that came through. It was such a small dollar amount, no one was looking at it. So this provider that was receiving hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars per year worth of additional codes just from a little urinalysis because it's such a small dollar amount. So sometimes you talk about claims routing, anything over $10,000. I want an actual audit. I want a doctor, physician, somebody with medical expertise to take a look at every one of those. Was this the right thing that needed to happen? And some of the claims auditors out there, in fact, Kimberly Carlson, if you're watching, Kimberly, great job this week in
Somebody
Wisconsin,
yep.
Wisconsin Dells. Yeah. She was talking about doing this for like 2 decades and only having one claim came close to having no errors on it. So they're constantly upcoding.
Yeah.
You have to look at these claims and really see what's going on. And if you're not using AI to look for it on front, trust me, the providers are using AI to stack some things on the backside that they think you're not going to be looking for. So it's a constant battle right now going on the medical bills. And the loser, if you're not applying this properly, is the plan sponsor and the participant. The participant's taking higher deductibles, higher copays, higher out of pocket because, wait a second, my healthcare costs went up. But how much would it have really gone up if someone had been really looking at these claims and auditing them properly? Probably not nearly as much as they did.
Yeah, I'd say, there are some TPAs that tout 95% auto adjudication. And I think the old days of auto adjudication were just OCR, right? Looking at images on the paper form that comes across, scanning it into a scanner that's pulling the numbers off the page, pulling the data off the page, and putting it into a system to auto adjudicate. That's a lot different than the AI tools you're talking about. The AI tools you're talking about now are analyzing the data that if it's garbage coming in, then it's going to be garbage going out. And so it's analyzing what kind of data is coming in off of that OCR feed, and then really helping the TPA make decisions about adjudicating that claim.
And so you talked about claims routing. So we can have the claim come into us, and then we can send it out. Depending on the plan sponsor, the broker might say, we want this editor looking at all claims over X dollar amount. We want all professional fees to be looked at, because sometimes you have 3 or 4 surgical procedures and at the exact same day. Wait a second, those are duplicates, aren't they? Who's checking for all this stuff? And so you really have to be careful. So all of that infrastructure, all that routing is what the adjudication software does, and that's how we can help really build a system and really catch a lot of that beforehand.
And I think for most, even some brokers don't realize this. I think it's important to know that the claims filing process is a standard process. Mm-hmm. Is it a federally standardized process in the United States? So the claim that comes through on a particular form and format,
UB40, 837,
right. Those are standardized forms, standardized documents, and so that data is, you can train a computer to find the data because it's supposed to be in that box every time. And so there is some advantage, I think, to implementing AI tools for analysis of some of this auto adjudication, and to identify where we've got some waste and some fraud that's going on in the system. What about, what do you think is, I asked you what's harder than most people think, but what's easier than most people think in TPAs that are coming to market, that maybe a broker's out there going, there's too many of these things popping up out of nowhere, but in reality, there is some ease to building a TPA.
When you have the ecosystem already built with the connections already in place, and so that's one thing I love about WLT. It's like we don't miss our implementation timelines. So we will give people, and after we find out exactly what kind of plan design, how much customization they're going to need, we will tell them. We've been known to do it within 6 to 9 months. We're trying to tell people who have so many TPAs coming on board right now, we're kind of pushing that to 9 to 12 months.
Sure.
But if it's totally done at that point in time and you're up and running at that point in time, because all of the business partners know when they're working with us, they can't put you in a queue that's going to be a 6 to 9 month queue before they even start on implementing, as far as to get the business partners in place. So we have that reputation in the marketplace as far as doing it in a much more timely manner than the rest of the industry at this point in time. And so I think that gives us a big advantage. But a lot, like I said, a lot of people have had such a painful experience doing an implementation in the past that they're still hesitant.
Yeah. How has technology helped kind of shift that expectation for you?
Well, we've got so many new AI tools. In fact, that's something we're releasing at our client conference coming up here in September. Which we might have to get you to come out to Clearwater Beach on September 14th through the 17th, and you can kind of meet our team.
You said Clearwater and beach. I mean, those don't suck. So.
No, beautiful. But we're going to be rolling out some of our new technology and interface. So it's going to be much easier to navigate and be able to make it through the system, and much more logic is going to be applied to the system. I mean, the WLT system is bulletproof. It's known as an anvil. It just works. And 43% of our clients have been with us for 20 or more years. So it's like our existing clients know how to navigate through everything, but it's kind of looked a little bulky in the past as far as drop-down menus, so on and so forth. So now we're applying AI so that I want to pay a claim. Let me look up somebody. So you literally type that in, and it shows you either where to go or click here, and it'll take you directly there. So navigate through the system, how to make it through, and how to actually process claims is going to be dramatically decreased because of the way we're layering an AI layer on top of the Mediclaim system that we have. And we're also updating our portals, because we have portals that shows the broker exactly what is going on. And by the way, another advantage I think WLT has, we have an open database. I didn't realize this in the past, because I thought, hey, if you have a self-funded plan, you're going to have access to all your data. Not necessarily. A lot of the systems do not have open database. So you can ask for a file, but it's going to take days, sometimes even longer, and some of them even charge money for you to have access to your own data. So it's very difficult to access that data. Versus with WLT, we have an open database. You can literally, through a portal, you can see real time. If an employee was terminated 3 seconds ago and you're looking for eligibility as a provider, boom, it's going to show that they're no longer an employee. So it's real time data access, so that you can see the claim status all the way across the board. You can see eligibility. You can do enrollments, everything for the broker, benefit advisor, for the plan sponsor, for the participant, for the provider themselves, all the way across the board. You can set up whoever you want to have access to these portals. But that's part of being transparent. That's part of making the process usable for everyone throughout the ecosystem.
So what do you think today, TPAs should be doing that they weren't doing 5 years ago, if they really want to be competitive in that space?
I think TPAs, and especially plan sponsors, we need to be really taking this fiduciary responsibility way more serious than a lot of them are. And one area, in fact, at our conference, we're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to be talking about fiduciary responsibility for the PBM, the new legislation that's out there. What do TPAs need to be doing today with their PBM contracts? Because a lot of them are 3-year contracts. What do you need to be doing today so that you're going to be compliant once these penalties take effect 2029? And I don't think plan sponsors understand they're personally on the hook for this fiduciary responsibility. Yeah. Now, TPAs don't have the fiduciary responsibility, but we can provide the partners, the tools, the systems, and the education so that we can allow the plan sponsors to be prepared for this. So these vertically integrated TPAs, like I said, you have you have PBMs, I should say, vertically integrated PBMs. So you've got the PBM owning the insurance company, or insurance company owning the PBM, owning the pharmacy. There's so many different ways to hide this money around there. It's no doubt why they're able to charge so much on prescriptions. The Johnson and Johnson lawsuit was such an example. When you're through the PBM, you're charging 40, 50 times what it cost for the cash price, whatever it was. I don't know the exact number. It was insane.
Yeah.
So that can only happen when the prices are truly hidden behind all of these shells. And when you're playing the shell game of the PBM out there today with the spread pricing and the rebates, that's exposing it. So what a TPA needs to be doing, and what a PBM is to be looking at the PBM, finding the PBMs that are already compliant with this, that do not play those games, that have a fee structure that is fully transparent. If you implement that, you're going to be creating a huge amount of savings today. Why wait until 2029?
Sure.
So there's other strategies like that can be implemented. There's business partners that are doing some fantastic things to reduce healthcare costs. And that's what I love about our system. We get to implement. We're the serpentine belt that brings that whole thing into an ecosystem that works well for everyone involved, except for the overcharging entities.
Sure. What do you, so you know, Scott, you and I have been at this a long time. We've known each other a long time. We've seen the evolution of self-funding from where it started in our careers,
only 500 plus
to where it was, where it is
Yeah.
today. Where we were literally self-funding groups of two. What do you think the self-funded industry is going to look like, say, 2030?
I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I think consolidation is going to continue. And so that's our hope. We don't want the consolidation to result in a fewer number of these innovation incubators known as the independent TPAs. So that's what we're going to be fighting head on. I want to find the innovators out there that maybe want to start their own TPA, and we want to make it as easy as possible, because otherwise, without that easy on-ramp onto the TPA space with consolidation, I'm afraid that all of this legislation, the PBM, the fiduciary responsibility, all of that sounded good, platitudes. We got the legal stuff, and it's going to be swept under the rug by by Congress, if you will, by all of the, what are they called? Lobbyists.
The lobbyists, yes.
It's going to be
Influencers, yeah.
So my fear is all of this legislation is going to be swept under the rug because of the lobbyists. There's so much money behind the system, the status quo, when it comes to healthcare. So what can we do to disrupt that status quo? How do we build that up to create the ecosystem that is where you have momentum, so that the BUCAs out there, the status quo can't resist anymore. They can't just say, hey, this isn't really working. They can't just buy you up because you now have momentum. You now have that built. So that's the hope, that we can find that and keep that momentum going. There's some cool things happening, but the status quo is going to be tough to overcome. But I am cautiously optimistic that we can build that out, that we can make that a reality, so that we can truly make a healthcare system much better moving forward. I also think, due to transparency in the legislation even today, if we can get that to go through so that people can really see the real price beforehand, that's going to get rid of some of those 5X, 10X stuff that goes through with healthcare. And people just don't know. I pay a deductible, I pay my copay, somebody else pays the rest of the bill. I don't know what the cost is. I don't care what the cost is. It's about time I get to use my insurance plan. We have to change that. We have to have the incentives in the right place, as you said, by these multiple tiered systems. Zero out of pocket if you go over here versus 1,000 or thousands or 5,000. And that's another way that we can affect and really make a difference on the functionally uninsured. People that have insurance, but if it's a $5,000 out of pocket, it might as well be 500,000. They ain't got it.
Yeah.
So what can we do about that? That's what we're talking about. Building the plan designs that allows people that have insurance. They might always enroll in the cheapest plan out there because I never get sick. And lo and behold, oh no, something happened. Now I've got to pay this big out of pocket. I don't have it. There's no way for me to pay for this. So how do we do that? We build plan designs with the zero out of pocket. Spend a few minutes shopping. Find out what high quality, low cost providers are out there. And if you go there, your out of pocket's going to be zero. How many people would love to have that as an option, but today they don't? That's why I'm cautiously optimistic. We need to build that.
Yeah. It just breaks down the walls and the barriers of all the expectations people have when they pay for insurance.
Right.
Mentioned in a different interview that the cost of a family premium anymore is outpacing the cost of a mortgage on a really, really nice house. Not my first house, but maybe one that I purchased recently, and that is scary. That's a scary thought.
I remember the first time I saw a family health insurance premium get to $500 a month. I literally was thinking,
Those were the days.
what is this world coming to? I could not believe it.
Now
I was so expensive back
now I'm seeing them at
in the
4,000.
90s,
Now
early
I'm seeing
90s.
4,000 a month. Wow. Scott, if brokers are out there that are interviewing TPAs, and I say TPAs because I think it's really important to distinguish. There's a lot of program managers and programs out there that have already pre-built the stack. They've got the TPA, they've got the PBM, they've got the networks, and they've got the adjudication software, they got the claims routing, they got the whatever. They got all those pieces pre-built. It's a product. And most brokers are selling product. There are more starting to unbundle it, and they're looking at the TPA separately from the PBM, et cetera. For the ones that are in that space, they're already going down that path, or the ones that are maybe embarking upon that journey, what do you think they should be looking for in the TPAs to position themselves to win?
Well, as you said, unbundled. You need to have the capability of putting in or having access, even if they're already built in, 2 or 3 different options for your transparent PBMs that truly do the pass-through pricing so that you don't have to worry about it. If they have the whole ecosystem ready to go, it might be a TPA worth going ahead and working with. But if you do have a problem and you haven't been able to find that, or you have your own idea about how things should go and should be built, that's the ones we want to talk to. That's where I think the big opportunity is. Hey, let's talk about maybe you standing up your own system. Let's talk about what that would look like. And if that's the case, WLT might be uniquely positioned. I don't know if any other system was really set up to build it like we do and fully customized the way we do.
Until I met you, Scott, I didn't know there was a WLT behind the scenes in some of these TPAs. So conversely, what does a broker need to be cautious about as they're going down the path of working with a TPA?
I'll go back to what Jonathan Barron said in Wisconsin. Anytime a TPA is a self-fund in name only, and they're utilizing your Aetna or your Cigna network, and they're focusing on that, and they're building a plan design that looks, feels, breathes like a BUCA, why do you want to compete with Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna with a product that is using their tools, that is using their network, that doesn't allow you to edit their claims, that you just have to trust that everything's fine? And as Kimberly Carlson likes to point out, it's like sometimes you can have a billed charge that goes to they create the bill so that because they own the hospital, they own the doctors, they own the insurance company. So they give a bill out there, X dollar amount. Oh, we overbilled, so now here's the real price, but we're going to keep a percentage of that savings ourselves.
Yeah.
And there are times when that percentage of savings that they're keeping on the overbill that they did with their own insurance company, with their own hospitals, with their own physicians all the way across the board, the amount they keep is more than what was actually paid to the surgeon or to the facility. It is insane, this racket of healthcare. And the more you know you don't know. And the more layers you peel back, the more frustrated you get. But there is hope that we can break through this. But we need the independent TPAs. We need the free thinkers to have that opportunity and to have that outlet and to be able to build it in order for it to go.
And we need the brokers that are out there having these conversations with the employers, putting together the solutions to solve the problems of today's healthcare system. Scott, thank you for being here. I know we could talk for hours. I have a feeling that this is not the only time that we'll get together and sit down in the dojo. I appreciate you being here today. For you brokers out there, I hope that you've learned something here. Keep learning. Keep sharpening your craft. Remember that mastery is not the destination. It's just the practice. Until next time, we'll be right here in the dojo.